Hi, today we will be talking about evolution of software economics. Most of the software cost models can be abstracted into a function of five basic parameters. We are well aware of COCOMO model. The five parameters are size of the end product, which is generally measured in number of source instructions or function points required to develop required functionality. Process. Well, it is the ability of the process to avoid non-value adding activities like rework, bureaucratic delays, or communication overheads. Personnel. Their experience to deal with computer science and application domain issues of the project. Environment. These are the tools and the techniques available to support efficient software development and to automate the process. And finally, quality. The features which should be present in the project like performances, reliability, adaptability, etc. Let us see how these parameters are related to each other. Well, effort is a function of personnel, environment, quality, size, and process. Several parametric models have been developed to estimate software costs. One important aspect of software economics is that the relationship between the effort and size shows diseconomy of scale. This is mainly due to the process exponent being greater than 1.0. The per line cost of a smaller application will always be less than that of the larger applications. And this is primarily due to the complexity of managing interpersonal communication as the number of team members tend to grow in a larger project. We will have to undergo more reviews, meetings, trainings, getting people to speed up, personal issues, etc. Now let us discuss what were the process trends during the three generations of software economics. The conventional development, which was typically from 1960s and 70s, most of the applications were custom built and the processes used were ad hoc and linear. While in the transition phase, some of the shelf tools were available, but still most of the software was developed custom and the ratio to custom and component based development was 70-30. The processes were repeatable. In the modern practices, the component based development became more popular and the ratio reversed. It became 70% component based to 30% custom. The environment tools were available easily off the shelf and were integrated. The processes used were managed as well as measured, and commonly they are referred to as capability maturity models. When we talk of the performance trends during these three generations, we find that during the conventional phase, the performance could not be predicted as the projects were usually over budget and scheduled and missed the requirements. The quality of the projects were also not that great. During that transition phase, a little bit of predictability was there, but still the projects were infrequently on budget or on schedule. Some commercial off-the-shelf products were available like databases, networking, GUIs. During the modern practices, it was comparatively much easier to predict about the project. The projects were usually on budget and on schedule. The process management was much easily managed and could be measured, and we used integrated environments. 70% of the shelf components and component-based applications became popular. Iterative development was used and stakeholder emphasis was given. So this figure shows three generations of basic technology advancements in tools, components, and processes. The required level of quality and personnel are assumed to be constant. And the three generations of software development were called conventional, transition, and modern practices, as we have discussed before. This figure provides an overview of how a return on investment profile can be achieved in subsequent efforts across life cycles of various domains. Now let us discuss more about software cost estimation. Very little information is available on estimating costs for projects using iterative development. And it is difficult to hold all the controls constant, like application domain, project size, criticality, the metrics which is measured in either SLOCs or function points, and they are not even consistent in the same application domain. Even for people, definition of SLOC and function points are not consistent. Much of this is due to the nature of development. There is no magic date when we can say that the design is complete and or on this particular date the testing will start. So the three issues which were seen in software cost estimation were: which cost estimation model should be used? Should software size be measured using SLOC or function points? And what are the determinants of a good estimate? So there are many parametric models available for cost estimation. Many organization-specific models too, based on their histories and experiences, were used. COCOMO, developed by Barry Boehm, was one of the most popular cost estimation model, and most of them used either source lines of code or function points to estimate size. So let us discuss more on source lines of code. So many people feel comfortable when measuring size in lines of code. They have great value, especially if the applications are custom built. We have many tools available as of now to measure, and a lot of historical data is available for measuring the size. A history of development with applications and their existing lines of code and associated costs definitely give us an upper hand. But today, when we are more on component-based development, the source code generation tools and objects have rendered SLOC somewhat ambiguous. So generally people feel that SLOCs are more useful and precise compared to function points, but there is a complexity of using LOCs with the new technology. As far as function points are concerned, there are many proponents for it. The International Function Point Users Group says that it is a dominant software measurement association in the industry, and tremendous amount of information and references have been given in favor of function points, and attempts have been made to create industry standards. The major advantage of using function points is that it is independent of the technology used and is thus better for comparison among projects. The function points measures numbers of external user inputs, external outputs, internal data groups, external data interfaces, external inquiries, etc. But there are certain disadvantages too, that it is difficult to measure these things. The definitions are very primitive as of now and inconsistent, and metrics difficult to assess, especially since normally done earlier in the development effort using more abstractions. So the problem is that the cost estimation is a necessity because we need funds for the project. All projects required estimation in the beginning only. So these must be stabilized, they should be rechecked, they must be reusable for additional cycle. So no project is arbitrarily started without cost or schedule or budget, manpower, resource estimates. If we talk of performance of these models, COCOMO is said to be within 20% of actual cost 70% of the time. Cost estimation is still distressing when one realizes that there are already an excess of missed dates, poor deliverables, and significant cost overruns that characterize conventional development methods. Yes, all non-trivial software development efforts require costing, and it is considered as a basic management activity. Request for proposals on contracts forces contractors to estimate the project costs for their. So most estimators perform bottom-up costing rather than approaching it top-down. So many project managers actually create the target cost and then play with the parameters and sizing and go on sizing it until the target cost can be justified. So any approach should force the project managers to assess the risk and discuss and make them discuss things with their stakeholders. Now bottom-up approach was definitely more popular. So if it is well done, it requires considerable analysis and expertise based on much experience and knowledge. And development of similar systems data is of great help. But if it is not done well, it can cause team members to go crazy. Some of the independent cost estimators like consultants are also available, but they are not very reliable. So according to Walker Royce, experienced project managers along with software architects, developers and test managers can give best cost estimates. Previous experience is essential, and once given, the team must live with the cost schedule estimate. So a good project estimate, according to Mr. Walker Royce, is the one which is supported by the project manager, architectural team, development team, and test team, is acceptable by all stakeholders, is based on well-defined software cost model, has considerable project experience, and is defined in enough detail so that the key risk areas are well understood. It should be derived from a mature cost model with an experience base that reflects multiple similar projects done by the same team with the same mature processes and tools. Although this situation rarely exists when a project team embarks on a new project, good estimates can be achieved in a straightforward manner in later lifecycle phases of a mature project using a mature process. It is absolutely necessary to analyze the cost risks and understand the sensitivities and trade-offs objectively. It forces the software manager to examine risks and discuss with other stakeholders. I hope you have understood how software economy evolved during the three generations. Do like and subscribe my channel for more presentations. Thank you.